Many strange creatures around the world take refuge in caves. Perhaps along with dense forests, caves are their last refuge in our world, as people rarely go into caves for fear of confined spaces and darkness. The indigenous people of Guadalcanal, part of the Solomon Islands archipelago, have since ancient times told legends of a vast underground world that exists at a level much lower than their island. The entrances to this world can only be found by those who know exactly where they are located. In this vast underground cavern supposedly live thousands of aggressive giant creatures that look like a hybrid of humans and monkeys. They are up to 4 meters tall. According to descriptions, these hairy giants are similar to typical Bigfoot, Yowie, etc. They have been seen many times in the past and continue to be seen occasionally these days. The entrance to their hideouts is believed to be hidden somewhere in the wilds of the tropical jungle on a mountain range. They do not take refuge in dungeons all the time, but can live outside as well. Then they build wooden huts, or primitive huts, with a roof made of sago palm leaves. Some of these giants are completely wild, but there are also some that have a kind of organized social structure. Most of the legends are about the giants living under the Tatua mountain, because the inhabitants of the surrounding villages see them very often. But in fact, if you start talking to any resident of Guadalcanal, he will gladly tell you everything he knows about the giants, and if he doesn't know something, he will quickly find the right person. There are a total of 3 types of giants seen here. The tallest ones have black, brown, or red hair that is very long, especially on their heads, and covers their eyes. They have strongly bulging brow arches on their foreheads. Their eyes are reddish, their nose is wide and flat, and their mouths are also very wide. They also stink very badly. Those that are smaller in size have much less body hair, and the smallest, about 2.5 meters tall, are already very similar to humans, only wild. At the same time, huge giants, when they meet smaller giants, often try to kill them. So there is enmity between the giant species. We know most of the information on the wild men of the Solomon Islands thanks to a book by local cryptozoologist Marius Borayon. He learned about the giants when he came to Guadalcanal to live in retirement. As a result of his research, he published a book, Secrets of the Solomon Islands, where he detailed everything he learned about the island yetis. And now let's get to the main part of our article. During World War II, the famous bloody Battle of Guadalcanal took place here in 1942 and 1943. The Allied forces fought Japanese soldiers, and the latter, while advancing through the jungle, often spotted giant, hairy, ape-like creatures. They had protruding brow arches, flat noses and wide mouths, and huge hands in which they held stones, or primitive clubs. These giants were reported to be very aggressive and attempted to attack if soldiers came too close to them. Several soldiers described instances of this enraged beast running at them, with bullets hardly taking them, barely noticing when they hit it. If the giants weren't attacking, they were waiting for something, especially at night. Soldiers would hear noisy footsteps as this creature, or several creatures, roamed around their camp, and they would also hear frightening loud howls that sounded like wailing. However, the most famous encounter between a hairy giant and Japanese soldiers occurred not on Guadalcanal but in Singapore. There, the mysterious creatures were nicknamed Monkey Man of Bukit Timah. The mysterious hairy creatures are still occasionally seen in Bukit Timah Nature Reserve these days, and no wonder. It's the only stretch of virgin forest in Singapore. This region has remained untouched for hundreds of years, and although it only covers an area of 1.64 square kilometers, it has an amazing biodiversity. Until the late 19th century, tigers could even be found here. The creatures seen here by the Japanese invaders were described as being relatively small, between 1 meter and the height of an average man, covered head to toe with gray hair and moving on 2 legs. They were very aggressive, and supposedly 1 or 2 the Japanese even managed to kill, and their corpses were then taken somewhere for study. It is often believed that the Japanese actually mistook the hairy monkey men for local crab-eating macaques, which are abundant here. However, macaques were hardly a curiosity for the Japanese because crab-eaters look like Japanese macaques. Therefore, who exactly the Japanese saw here is still a historical mystery,